This is Angelina from Care to Create, and today I am going to be taking an emergency medical training class. I'm also going to be interviewing Oscar from Aquatic Solutions. So thank you, Oscar, for allowing me to introduce you today before my CPR, first aid, and AED training. Can you please tell everyone your title at Aquatic Solutions?
My name is Oscar. I'm the Vice President of Aquatic Solutions. So I help oversee the operations of our programs, ensuring that we're American Red Cross compliant.
Why did you choose to pursue a career in life safety and emergency medical training?
So I started out actually pretty late. About 17 years old, I learned how to swim. So I originally started as a lifeguard. I didn't know how to swim. I started at the Y and I was taught how to swim so that I could eventually become and work at the Y as a lifeguard. And I just stuck with it. I learned how to do CPR in that class, and there was a big need for CPR training, so I took a lifeguard instructor course, and my career path was not originally this, but I kind of steered it towards this as I started growing older.
Have you ever had to apply your skills in real life?
Yes, a few times. So I've had drowning situations where I've had to jump in the water, save people, do full CPR, use an AED with multiple rescuers in progress, which means there's 4 of us doing CPR and the AED on the person. I've had situations just on the train where you have sudden collapses and I've had to do CPR there too.
Okay. How do you stay updated on the latest developments in safety and emergency medical service?
So the science is updated every 5 years. So there's something called the ECC guidelines, and these ECC guidelines are updated every 5 years. So as an example, the ECC just updated in 2020. So the American Red Cross programs will take this science and apply the science to any program revisions that come. And so their programs will update as the science comes out.
What is the most memorable event where you had to use your emergency training?
So it's always summer camp. Working with children who might be overly confident in the way that they know how to swim, things like this. Just being able to jump in and make the difference for them, and knowing that they're safe and that they're able to keep themselves safe in and around the water.
I know a lot of people who have pacemakers. So if somebody has a pacemaker, do you have to perform CPR or use the AED differently?
No, so you can actually perform CPR on them. You can defibrillate like normal. In a lot of cases, you might have a scar or a lump or some kind of indication that might tell you that a pacemaker or an ICD is implanted, in which case the AED pad is usually on the upper right and on the side left. So the pads won't really be in contact, but if you do see that the pad might be on top of it, just move it a little bit away from the device so that it's not directly on top.
Has COVID caused a significant decrease in CPR certifications being sought, or has it increased now that COVID has permitted you to become certified online?
So Aquatic Solutions was considered essential throughout the pandemic because we don't just do the basic CPR course. We do CPR for social workers. We do basic life support for healthcare providers. So we actually did business through the entire pandemic. What we did have to do was adjust it to virtual training, where the instructor and the student couldn't be in the same room. So we would do something similar. We would set up a viewing screen so that the instructor could be in a separate room, still observing the one participant. And so our training went to one-to-one, instructor to one student, and then we would just do them back to back. But we tried to keep going because it definitely supported a lot of jobs that needed the CPR training.
I learned this in the online course, but can you explain how a person would know when to call 911 or administer CPR first?
So that really depends on what kind of emergency it is. So there is call first and care first emergencies. It really just makes a difference between, will I be able to fix this problem right away or not, right? So you have to see that a care first situation where if you're by yourself, a care first situation may be like someone choking or someone that's bleeding. I wouldn't go up to them and say, "Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm trained in CPR. I see you're bleeding. I'll be right back." right? You would try to stop the bleeding as soon as possible, get the person stable, and then call 911. Where you might have emergencies like a cardiac arrest where somebody's walking around, collapses out of nowhere, that person needs immediate 911 because the sooner EMS gets there with the AED and starts providing advanced life support, the quicker the chance of survival for that person.
Okay. How would a younger person like myself perform the Heimlich maneuver on an adult or larger person?
So abdominal thrust can be performed by anybody. It all just depends on your foot position. So if the person is a little larger, you might just need to put your foot a little bit more forward to make sure that you're able to balance yourself against their own weight. But the abdominal thrusts themselves is not going to be a problem.
From the online course it didn't explain what to do if you happen to choke and you're alone. So can you perform the Heimlich maneuver on yourself?
So yeah, you can do abdominal thrusts on yourself. You can push yourself against a wall and do the abdominal thrust against yourself. You could even just do it against a chair. So you could thrust your abdomen into a chair and get that same inward and upward motion into that diaphragm.
At what age would you recommend someone to become certified in emergency medical service?
So certification is it's a weird word, right? Because anybody has the potential to be certified. But I do recommend that everybody take the training. I've had 4, 5, 6-year-olds in the class that might not be strong enough to do the CPR, but they learn basic life-saving skills like how to call 911, how to control bleeding, how to care for a diabetic emergency. Simple things that, again, would make the difference between life or death to someone who needs it. We do a lot of outreach to the youth in this regard. So we'll bring mannequins, we'll bring first aid equipment, and we'll do maybe a 1 or 2 hour quick seminar on how to control bleeding, how to call 911, how to help if somebody is stuck somewhere and you just need help getting them into a recovery position, things like this.
I learned from the online course that you have to do 100 to 120 chest compressions per minute and at least 2 inches deep for an adult. So would you still recommend a younger person become certified even if it's difficult for them to perform the compressions?
So if they can perform it 100 to 120 for 30 compressions and provide the 2 breaths and come back to it, yeah. It's important. The more people that are able to perform the skill and able to deliver the skill to somebody, the better, because that person will get nothing, right? So at least getting a few cycles of CPR before EMS gets there is better than getting nothing. I think the course actually says that for every minute of CPR and AED that's delayed, the person loses about a 10% chance in survival. So even 2 or 3 minutes of CPR is going to make a huge difference to somebody who's getting nothing.
Well, thank you. Those were all the questions that I had for today. Thank you for taking time to meet with me and create an informative video. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I learned a lot from the online course, and I'm going to learn a lot from the class I'm going to take today. At the end of every interview, Care to Create will donate to a charity of your choice. So, which charity would you like me to make a donation to on your behalf?
The Red Cross. So obviously the Red Cross.
Okay.
And thank you for having me.